Hello everyone, KosakChess here, and welcome everyone on the recap of round number 8, where I faced the local FIDE master Petros Rahmanidis. Unfortunately, I am really sorry for Petros because uh, we might call him outsider. Unfortunately, because before this round he had only half a point out of 7. Of course, such situations happen and will happen because if you are playing against much better opponents, a little bit higher rated than you, it's quite a tough nut to crack to even get a full point. So to be honest, I was optimistic, but I also knew that this game is important, so I knew that I can't underestimate my opponent and play normal, healthy chess. And so did I. The move e4, as the usual. The move e6 surprised me because in my available sources where I could check his games, the database or the internet games from chess.com, for example, he has mainly played the Sicilian defense, if not the only Sicilian defense. Some variations like classical variation on or four knights, but he played the move e6. So I repeated the variation which I played yesterday, hoping that maybe, or maybe not hoping, but thinking that he will improve something from my yesterday's game. I don't know. But he played bishop e7 instead of knight bd7, which played Sparuman. Luckily, when I was preparing for Miłosz, I checked the line bishop e7, and I played the move bishop takes f6, gf6, and queen d2, which is, as we might call it, a sideline, but a quite interesting sideline. The idea is simple. We want to make a castle and make use of the fact that his king is still in the center. So, for example, if we manage to, let's say, somehow open the center, I will just play some random moves, play d5, e d5, knight d5. If we will manage to open these central files, the position is perfect for black, for white, for white, sorry. Uh, but my opponent played after 10 minutes of thinking, so probably he was recalling some notes. He played the best move in the position, which is the move c5. That's why queen d2 is the sideline. Maybe it's even a little bit dubious because c5 move by nowadays engines, it's a best recommendation. It is the way to equalize in this position. So I was surprised, but okay, I went with the line, knight c5, bishop c5, dc5, queen d2, king d2. And we reach an endgame where I am pawn up, but this c5 pawn um, might not survive that long. The main move, as I remember, is the move a5, and this was the move I prepared for Miłosz. Maybe I didn't prepare that the specific endgame that deeply, but I knew some moves. That the a5 idea is, of course, to stop my move b4, because my move b4 would protect the c5 pawn, which will allow me to keep the pawn and be a pawn up. And after knight f3, black can just take king d7, play some normal developing moves, bishop d7, rook c8, knight a6 even in some variations. Uh, After several moves, he might recapture this pawn, so the material would be equal, and in general, the position would be equal. But instead, he went for the move knight d7, which looks pretty logical from um, the human perspective, because we develop a piece and attack the pawn. But unfortunately, this move is already a mistake because of the fact that I have this b4 move. Well, I didn't analyze knight d7 move, but I asked myself a question. What's the reason of playing the move a5 there? Well, as I explained, it's about stopping the move b4. So if black does allow me to play the move b4, I think I should play it. It's like a natural consequence of the thinking process. I hope at least it's natural. Now he played the move a5, and I'm with time to play the move c3. So you know we are we are pawn up. Now we need to save, maybe suffer a little bit, but if we manage to develop our pieces, we are perfectly fine. Uh, he played the move king e7 after half an hour of thinking. This is maybe not unfortunately, but I expected some deep and great thoughts from his side because in every single game my opponent was in big time trouble. So spending 32 minutes on the clock on this move didn't surprise me at all. Well, he wants to put the rook on d8 and somehow activate this knight. But okay, I played knight f3, then move f5. So knight f6, knight d4. Uh, and okay, we may play pretty quickly because the thing is that I need to develop the bishop. But when I had this great time advantage, I thought it's a great moment to think a little bit because we have a time advantage. Although I didn't do anything special, but my opponent helped me in that a little bit. So now I have a moment to think and consider what's the best plan. How should I put my pieces and on which squares in order to get the most playable position for me. I considered bishop d3 at first because for me it's logical to cover the e4 square because after knight f6 I don't allow my opponent to play knight e4. But after bishop d3 I didn't like that he can take on b4, ab4 and rook a3. The thing is maybe it's not that dangerous because I can kick off this rook by playing rook c1 for example. But after rook d8, rook c3, rook a4, I think that this rook is a little bit misplaced there. Although I might have some moves like a3, knight f6, and now knight d4, both, and knight d5 is the threat. And I thought that maybe I have something like rook b3, but after knight d5, I still have to be worried about knight x b4 ideas, knight f4 ideas. After, even though he's pawn down, he has a great activity, and maybe he can even count for some compensation there. So calculating all these lines, I thought that this mysterious move a3 might be the best to stop his move rook a3, because after a4 I take with the pawn, beautiful pawn chain, and the a3 square is covered by my rook. So that was my intention. He played the move rook d8. After the move knight f6, I think we will transpose to the same position, so it doesn't really matter. Rook d8, king c2. Knight d4 crossed my mind there, but after a4 I have a problem because I can't recapture with this pawn. This rook is protected, and c4, knight c5, the knight is hanging, so he regains material. So knight d4 is stupid. I thought also of queen e3 move, king e3, sorry, but knight f6, and we get into some unpleasant checks. Even if I manage to play bishop c4, knight g4 isn't that scary because of the move king e2. But some knight e4 ideas, and he attacks the pawn on c3. I have to defend it with the rook. I didn't really like it, so I just didn't want to play something strange and mysterious moves. King c2, the simplest way to protect the pawn in the future and to get out of this x-ray. Knight f6 and bishop d3 to cover the e4 square. Bishop d7 and the move knight d4. Maybe I will show you one variation. Maybe I will show you just one variation I calculated. Because I was also thinking of the move bishop d3 there immediately. And the thing is that black has now moved e5, and maybe I didn't like it because the move e4 is in the air, and after bishop f5, knight c5, and I'm losing a bishop. So I just wanted to tell one thing, and also, but maybe I will show you in this reduction. After the move knight f6, if the move bishop d3 appears, rook d8, after king c2 we may transpose to the game, but if I want to play knight d4, maybe to cover the rook, there's a move e5 there, and rook e1, knight d4, just to just to show you that playing complicated chess might be not useful always that often, because as you can see we lose the knight. But okay, who cares about this variation? King c2, knight f6, bishop d3, bishop d7, and now the move knight d4, because bishop a4 is the threat, and the rook will look at my bishop. So I played the move knight d4, and after bishop a4, king b2, and now my pieces are safe. e5, knight f5, and knight d6. So I don't have to worry about my pieces. Yeah, and my opponent played the move knight g4. So the idea is to attack the pawn on f2 and try to make some complications. Yeah. Uh, if I play the move f3 immediately, there's a knight e3 move, and the pawn on g2 disappears. Although it still shouldn't be bad, because I have this majority pawn advantage on the queen side. But it's not necessary at all to allow black for such counterplay. I saw this move from the beginning of the variation when I played the move a3, and rook h e1 was my part of plan. Yeah, rook e1. After a b4, I have two recaptures possible, but c b4 is simpler because after the move a b4, rook a1, rook a1. I am using touchpad. Knight f2, rook a7, knight d3, king d3, e5. I have rook b7 move, and I don't know how to evaluate this position because after ed4, c6, this endgame might be lost. But something like king f8. And the position is unclear. I have these three pawns. I can maybe even I can play b5, give up this piece, and this pawn will just win the game. Most probably it is the true, but there's no need in such position to sacrifice a piece to prove something. Yeah, it's stupid. So c4, it would be just easier. Bishop a4 and king c3, and I protect all the pieces. In the game, bishop a4 happened, king b2 and knight f2, because maybe some of you might were wondering why he doesn't capture the pawn. Yes, he did right now. Maybe I will show you also that after king f6, I have the move f3, so I protect everything. He can't take on h2 because rook h1, this knight doesn't have a square to escape. Although maybe after f3 he can just go for something like 95, and after the move bishop f1, just stay and wait for my action because his pieces are active. He has a compensation. I have to prove somehow that this position is better for me. I could try to set up some plan, etc., etc. But it's not easy. I know from from my experience that it's not easy to just stay and do nothing in chess. It's really hard thing to do. That's why he played the move knight f2. I took the pawn on f5, so I know that this knight is somewhat trapped there. A takes b4, a b4, and the tactics. I saw this tactics, and I thought that I should be easily winning after it. Maybe I will show that if he removes the king in order to attack the bishop, I can just easily go bishop c2, king c2, and exchanges, of course, are in my favor. Rook f1 in the air with these three pawns against this poor one pawn. The position should be winning, but he played the move knight d1, so he's trying to what? To make some scary things. Rook a d1, bishop d1. If I take the bishop, he takes my bishop on f5. Although after knight f5, knight d6, I still should be winning. The material is equal if we make this kindergarten calculation. Knight is 3, 2 pawns are plus 2 pawns is 5 points against the rook, which is 5 points. So the material is equal, but with this majority pawns on the king side, queen side, on the king side is equal. With this pawns majority, I can create passer really soon. It should be totally winning. But I played bishop e4 to keep my knight on d4 centralized. He escaped with the bishop because it was hanging. Bishop b7, rook a7, and the move c6. So the concrete way to deal with this position, although bishop f3 still should be winning, and again knight f5, knight d6. But I would need some time to calmly improve my position. But c6 is the, let's say, most critical line because rook a1 is hanging, is in the air. It's not hanging, it's in the air, and this bishop might be pinned. He played the move rook g8, attacking my pawn, so I play g3 defended, king d6, and the move c4. I could go rook a1, threatening knight b5, but he has something like king c7, knight b5, bishop b1, bishop b5, rook a7, king b6, and the position simplifies a little bit, and my bishop on b7 is strange, so um, it's stuck and it does nothing. This pawn disturbs him a little bit, so I didn't see any need to go for such an endgame. And that's why I played the smooth c4, so calmly improve this pawn structure. He played the move e5, after which I calculated the move c5, king d5, king c7, there's rook e5 and rook e7. After the move c5, king d5, knight f5. So knight e7 is the threat. Maybe c7, c8 in some variations is also the threat. So with 3 seconds on the clock, you play the move bishop c6. There's probably nothing better to do. If he plays king c4, I can give a check on his e4, king d5, go rook h4, and knight d7 is still the threat. I attack this pawn. I can still slowly improve the position. So he's dead lost there. He played the move bishop c6, but after the move knight e3 check, king e6, bishop c6, I am with two pieces against the rook, so the position should be. It's a matter of time if I convert the position. Uh, but it turned out to be really quick thing, because after rook takes b4, I played the last move in the position king c3, and it turns out that this active rook doesn't have a place to escape, because if it goes on b8, I give a check on d7, the rook is checking, and I get a free rook, and every other square is protected by my pieces. So that's why Petros Rahmanidis resigned. And I think I am well, I not think I am happy. I am happy of this game. Uh, Probably it was. I hope it was pretty accurate. Let's check it quickly with the engine, if I'm right. Yeah, E4, E6, so blah blah blah. The theory. Nobody cares about the theory. Yeah, the engine, the Lichess engine doesn't show it, but oh yeah, now he changed his mind. The C5 idea is perfectly fine for black. So if you want to play the French as black, let's of course have this line in the mind. Knight takes c5, bishop c5, dc5, queen d2, king d2, king d7, knight d7. Yeah, a5. A5 is the best move, as I remember the engine recommendation. Although remember, if the it doesn't mean that you draw a game if the position is equal. You have just equal position, but it doesn't mean that you draw immediately. So this is also an important thing. Choosing a position you are heading for. Uh, you don't have to go for a position that is only equal. That the engine says, oh, it's 0.1, 0.2, or maybe 0.0 even. If there is a position you don't really understand, it doesn't matter if the position is equal or not. You just have to understand what's going on there. So this is important. Not only the numbers, but the position itself is even more important. Knight d7 normal move, yeah, but this is an inaccuracy. b4, a5, c3, king e7, knight f3, f5, a3. Okay, king c2 immediately. And after knight f6, what do you want to play? Knight f6, 95, and 94 f3. Something like this also crossed my mind, but I thought that just developing this bishop would be easier. Yeah, like a3 doesn't spoil the advantage that much. Rook d8, king c2, knight f6, bishop d3, so we develop normally. Bishop d7, knight d4, knight g4, rook h1 the first line, bishop a4, king b2, knight f2. Yeah, he could prolong the game by playing king f6, but anyway, I have an advantage, of course. Knight f2, bishop f5, ab4, ab4, knight d1. He wins an exchange, but I win the b7 pawn, rook a7, c6. Okay, so bishop f3 was even more accurate, but I thought that this critical line c6 is much better. It isn't, but it's enough to win the game. So the conversion was even, let's say, pretty clean. Rook b4 and king c3 the last move. Yeah, and he resigns. So okay, 6 out of 8. And what does it mean? It means that I'm playing in the last round with black pieces against the local player, against the son of the organizer, Dimitris Alexakis from Greece. So yeah, so I have to win this game. I have to win this game. I will try all my efforts to do it. If I don't win it, well, it happens. It happens sometimes, but in general, I think I play good chess there. So I have a lot of I have a lot of to offer to my opponents. I don't know, maybe they might be afraid or not. Uh, but I am happy in general of the quality of my play. There were some games against Kotronias or even against Miłosz where the time management was really poor. But if I would do blah, blah, blah. English is hard, English is hard language. If I could do every single chess factor perfectly, I wouldn't play in Piraeus GM tournament. I would play in FIDE candidates tournament. Yes, so I know that I am weak. I know that I still need to improve. But in general, comparing my chess to my level, which I am representing, I am pretty satisfied with the quality of play. Okay, stop talking stupid things, man. Thank you very much for joining me, and keep fingers crossed for the last round of the tournament. Bye. Thank you.